your American dream?
My American dream is sitting my ass on a beach.
Cheers. My American dream is to live here for 4 years with my family, opening an office and enjoying, with a lot of people from all over the world.
The American dream for me is just to be operating in a place to where you're doing your passion.
Everyone has a right to the American dream. Welcome, everybody. It is Brad Show Live. It is December 16th, and I am live from my dining room table, but I also have live from their dining room tables, Justin, Yo-Yo Elias.
We're here.
Jairus, Julian, the TriCaster guy. We're all in our homes right now, ready to battle the snowstorm. Are you ready to battle the snowstorm coming, guys?
It's sticking out there, y'all.
It is very.
This is happening. Our first snow day.
It is very sticky. I think Yo-Yo is a little sticky also there. So I think it's just me and you. I think the snow has got into Yo-Yo. And it's just now me and Vanessa.
Literally frozen, and we had to let him go.
We had to say goodbye to Yo-Yo. And I think he's auditioning for the live action Frozen movie. He is getting ready for it. He says he's a method actor, this Yo-Yo. So he needs to
multifaceted.
He needs to make himself frozen, just to get ready for all of this. How you doing? I'm sure we'll get Yo-Yo back shortly.
I'm good.
We want everybody to stay safe. The bad weather all over the United States right now. It's like going right across America. Everyone I spoke to is like bad weather. Nobody's had good weather. Unless maybe down. I didn't speak to anyone in Florida today.
I want to be like that guy in that first American dream. He said it. He just wants to be on a beach.
I'm going to tell you something. I don't know where we got that group for the American dream, but usually our American dreams are very profound and very heartfelt. And by the way, hats off to him. I was very honest. He's like, I just want to hang out on the beach and be left alone, right?
We're in a snowstorm right now, and I wouldn't mind that option. What's the squad feeling? Where is everyone? Is it snowing where y'all are? Or everyone in Jamaica right now watching this? Take us there.
Everyone in Jamaica or the DR or Brazil or Colombia or anywhere south of New York, they're all laughing at us right now. I'm sure. But let's say hello to the squad. Why don't we? While Yo-Yo, I got a text from him. He says he's going to try to thaw out in his microwave. And he'll be back. He'll be back shortly. But in the meantime, Dion Watson, squad up. How are you? Desiree Fieron saying hello. Marge Higgs. Hey. Violet Blackwood. Squad, everybody. Vivian, squad up. Part of our crew. Welcome, everybody. Vivian. Alma Forster, hello. How are you? Rahendra Bissiar, squad up. Dion Watson, Dawn Harriet, squad up. And who else we got here? Judith Abu, we see you watching. Boo-boo, I guess. Dawn Harriet, squad up. I said Dawn Harriet. Raquel Graham, we see you watching as well. Marge Higgs, how are you? By the way, Vanessa.
Tell me.
Marge Higgs, in Jamaica, it's cold. So you know what? They're not laughing at us.
Bad weather. You said it everywhere.
They're empathizing with us. They're in simpatico with us. Let's see.
Their cold is not our cold, Brad.
That's true. I mean, what do you think their cold could be in Jamaica? I mean, I mean, we have a snowstorm. We're in the middle of a snowstorm here in New York
Miss
City.
Higgs, that 60 degrees ain't nothing, sister.
Yeah, you know what? Like a cool breeze where you can't just be, on the beach without a shirt, or, just in a bikini, that's their cold. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what?
Sweater wetter.
Sweater wetter, right? I like that if your New York accent. I wonder our squad in Jamaica. I wonder what they think cold is. Tell us, Vanessa, you check the comments and just give me a public service announcement when you see what our Jamaican crew says is actually cold weather. All right?
Gotcha, Brad.
I don't know if I'll laugh or cry when I hear it.
Whatever it is, we'll do it together.
Exactly. Carol Anderson, the Tiger. Squad up. How are you? And I just got I got a public service announcement from Yo-Yo. His internet got knocked out because of the snowstorm. So hopefully he'll be back shortly. Violet Blackwood, squad up. How are you? Alma Forster. I said Violet Blackwood. Doreen Dappa says there's a hurricane. Where's there a hurricane? Is there a hurricane going on?
Global warming is real, Brad.
Right.
And
Beverly, and by the way, Beverly Robinson King, 70 degrees Fahrenheit in Florida. She's happy as a clam. All right.
Amazing.
Happy as a clam. Happy as a clam. Let's see what's going on YouTube, Vanessa. Maudlin Davis saying, hey, how are you? Carol, the top cat tigress too. She's double fisted. Frank Uguji saying, hey, squad. Mark Clark saying hello. By the way, Randall Roy, Edith, Ned, Enzo, Alex, Braun, squad up. They all have questions because we are doing our, I guess before we would call it our pandemic pop-up. This is our snow blizzard pop-up show. And it's also hump day, by the way. Do you know I've never done a hump day just with you, Vanessa? It'd be very interesting.
Yeah.
It'd be very interesting. But
Oh,
by the way,
well.
we're not going to be able to take our telephone calls because we don't have that technology yet that I can take your calls. So if you do have immigration questions, please leave them in our comments section, and we will answer every question, or we'll try to answer every question. Vanessa is going to be our moderator. Unless Yo-Yo comes back, then she'll share duties. But Vanessa is going to be asking every question she sees in the comments section. Leave them now. So the quicker you ask them, the more likely it is that we will get it answered. In the meantime, Vanessa, while I stretch and get ready for schmoozing, why don't you tell everybody what they need to do on Facebook and YouTube?
Okay, squad. So let's get started. It is so important, especially today. We need this warm love from you guys. We need you guys to be on Facebook. The very first thing we need you guys to be doing is following our Brad Squad VIP page. Why the Brad Squad VIP page on Facebook? That is special access to special content, and you can also have the opportunity to ask your question on the VIP page. When we do our social media check-in, the very first questions that we ask are from our VIP page. So you want to be a part of that. It is not the page that you are currently watching the show on. It is a separate page. You'll see it. You can request it and become formally a part of the Brad Squad. So make sure that you're a part of that VIP page, because you can ask your question at any point in the day, and it'll be one of the first questions that we have answered, and you don't want to miss any of the extra content that we have on there. On Facebook right now, we want you guys to share. So make sure that you share this right now. Let people know that Brad Show is live. We're doing a pop-up. We come on live, even in the middle of a blizzard, because we want to make sure that we continue to help as many people as we can. And we need you guys to share, because there's still so many people that need their immigration questions answered, and we're here to provide that. I want to hear from you guys. We won't be taking calls, so please make sure to type in your questions in the comments, because we have our squad in the back getting those questions together, and I will be asking majority of the questions to Brad during social media check-in. So make sure that you also give us a thumbs up. You show us your emotions, like, smiley face, all of it. We want to see it from you guys. So interact on Facebook. We're looking out for you. For all my people on YouTube, if you aren't already, you need to subscribe. Make sure that you subscribe to us on our YouTube channel and that you also turn on the notification bell so you know when Brad Show is live Monday through Friday. Okay, when you turn on the notification bell, it'll literally send you a notification so you don't miss us. And you want to make sure to share, squad. There are still so many people that don't know all the knowledge and all the value that we have to share here on Brad Show Live. And you can be the answer. You can be helping someone else save their case and change their life. So make sure that you share. I also want to hear from you guys in the comments. I'm in there on both YouTube and Facebook, looking out for y'all. So make sure that you ask your questions there, and that you also, most importantly, and this time I can really offer this because I have full control of questions today since we aren't going to be answering the phone. I need to see those thumbs up, you guys. We are here for you guys, squad, even through a blizzard, even through a storm. So when you give us that thumbs up, it lets YouTube know that there's great things happening on here, and it builds more exposure for Brad Show Live so that our squad can grow more and more each day. You also have a share arrow on YouTube. You can click that, copy the link, send it in a text message, send it to a group, send it to anyone and everyone that should be tuning in to Brad Show Live. If you can't catch a full 2 hours of Brad Show Live, you can catch us on Instagram at Brad Show Live. So make sure you follow us there, where we share our best smaller snippets of the show and still very valuable. You can also direct message us and ask your questions on Instagram, and someone will answer your questions, or it'll be a part of social media check-in. But for right now, let's hear what's going on out there in the world, and get into some schmoozing with Brad. Woo.
Oh, we go right to schmoozing. I was waiting for the coffee cup. I didn't realize. I went right back to me, and I'm going like this with my lips, getting ready to talk. Meanwhile, Vanessa, yesterday we spoke about what I was doing. What do you say?
You were getting right into schmoozing.
I said no. I was like doing this, I was listening to you, and when I'm not talking, your saliva kind of builds up in your mouth. Maybe I'm giving you too much information. So I'm like, all right, I know I'm going to get to schmoozing now. And I'm like, all right, I got to swallow all the saliva in my mouth because I got to be able to talk. I don't want to spit onto the screen. So here I'm going like this, and I'm waiting. And Julian doesn't give me the coffee cup. He went right to me. I look like I was a horse ready to go, but I'm ready to go now.
We're here now.
Every time we do these pop-ups, we don't do like we're going to get serious when we get to immigration, but whenever we do these pop-ups, we get so silly sometimes. So yesterday we spoke about how the pandemic had negatively affected restaurants and small businesses. Well, this may be some good news. We don't know how it's going to play out yet, but yesterday, top congressional leaders met for the first time in months to discuss coronavirus relief. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi also spoke with Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin on the phone for more than an hour Tuesday before the top four leaders in Congress met later in the day. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has insisted on including a provision to bar lawsuits by people who say they were negatively exposed to coronavirus by a business. But the Democrats want to make sure that states get $160 billion to cover their costs from the lost revenue from coronavirus, because the difference between state budgets and federal budgets is the U.S. government can print money. So they want to be able to, print more money. They can do it. But the state of New York, the state of California, the state of Florida, they can't print money. So, towns can't print money. So because of that, if state budgets fall short, people get fired. If federal budgets fall short, the U.S. government we got to make some, print it. They start printing it. So the states are running short, and a lot of state employees, I feel bad for everybody, so every time I hear these stories, but state employees are at risk of losing their jobs. And the reason you go to work for the government is because you say, I'm going to have security, a steady job. Mm-hmm. And here now, because you give up what you give up, a higher, generally speaking, you give up, most people can get higher salaries in the private sector than they can working for the government, but you get job security and a pension and everything else. And nobody expects to lose their job and not get paid once they work for, state or city. So I feel bad for those people. Hopefully nobody gets laid off. They are not talking about another $1,200 stimulus, but they are talking about extending unemployment insurance for people, and perhaps also giving that loan to small businesses. I think the loan to small businesses is not necessary, because I believe that if people get money in their pocket, they're going to spend it, and they're going to spend it with businesses. Right. So the loans aren't as important as stimulus checks and unemployment. I think loans are just giveaways to people who own businesses. Yeah. But when you give money to individuals through stimulus checks and unemployment or higher unemployment checks, they're going to take that money and they're going to spend it, and they're going to spend it with businesses. So
I feel like we've seen that a lot, even in this season, in this round. Like I feel like even myself, I'm a lot more aware of small businesses. So where I can invest, even in holiday shopping, like I'm going to support an entrepreneur, or a small business, because it's only fair. I mean, that's what keeps everything going around.
Well, during the last lockdown in March and April, unemployment shot up, and people were getting laid off, and businesses didn't know, if anybody was going to actually even come into their businesses. But once people started getting their stimulus checks and the steroids, they called it, the steroids unemployment checks, business came back to a lot. I mean, it's not back to what it was 2019, but the economy stabilized. So I hope that they're able to do something with a stimulus check. I hope they're able to do something with more unemployment for people who can't find jobs. And I think that would actually spur, the economy more than another loan for small businesses. I mean, I'm not going to turn it down. Obviously, if government wants to give me a loan, I'm happy to take it. But I don't think that's what is the number one priority at this moment. But we'll see what happens. And this was very interesting also. Dr. Fauci, he's the head of coronavirus. Yep. In the United States, he had said recently on a interview, he was asked by Sanjay Gupta on CNN if he knows anybody close to him who died, and he revealed this week that his daughter's boyfriend, the brother, I guess, who would be the future brother-in-law if they were to get married. Right. He was 32 years old, and he died of coronavirus. Wow. And you don't really think about young people dying. How old are you? If I ask,
I'm 29.
Is that rude for me to ask you? I apologize. You're not supposed to.
No. If anything, it makes it, I connect with the story a little bit more, because that's not too far from my age. Yeah. So, even though when we talk about coronavirus, sometimes we do say, even though, I feel like you and Yo-Yo would be at less risk, and then you hear something like this. Right.
Well, wait till you hear this. So you're 29. Yep. All right. And you'll be shocked to hear that new statistics came out, and the United States has actually had 76,000 people die of coronavirus between the ages of 25 and 44 since the pandemic started.
Wow.
All right. Would you believe that? I wouldn't.
12,000 and 12,000 more are expected.
Yeah. 76,000 Americans. So, he's 79, Dr. Fauci, but he went on to explain, that the severity of the virus can hit anybody at any age. And he said that, you don't want to overwhelm the general public, but you want them to at least understand that they're dealing with real suffering and real disease and real loss in the form of loved ones. And, his, daughter's, boyfriend's brother died. So I'm sure that they were dealing with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the age range that feels the safest to be out and about right now, dining here, gatherings there.
Right.
So.
Meanwhile, according to statistics from the Johns Hopkins University, there's now more than 73 million coronavirus cases worldwide. In the United States, 16.7 million people have been diagnosed with COVID, 304,000 deaths. I'm sure there's a lot more than those that have been diagnosed already. And just on Monday, we hit over 300,000 people dead.
Wow.
We're averaging right now, more than 3,000 deaths per day. That's basically a 9/11 every day, or a Pearl Harbor every day. Every day, imagine 3,000 people dying.
And this is in less than a year.
Right. We're averaging 3,000 deaths per day. Every day there's a new 9/11.
Wow.
Yeah. Now the vaccine is starting to be administered. And should reach more than 600 administration sites nationwide by the end of the week. And the FDA found absolutely no safety concerns with the vaccine. And Pfizer has run tests that included about 44,000 people and found the vaccine's efficacy was consistent across age, gender, race, and ethnicity. Efficacy is a word I never heard before all of this, but it means it works.
Yeah.
I've never used the word efficacy before this, but I seem to be using it every day now. I would say the word efficacy would be in running for the Webster's 2021 word.
Pandemic.
Yeah, like pandemic was this year. I think efficacy. Efficacy will be next year's word. First responders, people in nursing homes, they're going to get the vaccine first. And the problem is right now that the United States needs to vaccinate 300 million people. And at the moment, they have only purchased enough vaccines between Moderna and Pfizer. Moderna is going to be approved very shortly to vaccinate approximately 50 million people. They are going to purchase another 50 million, hopefully, from Pfizer. That's 100 million people, but we're still at this moment going to be 200 million vials short.
200 million.
Right. So we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, poor countries, they're going to be a lot worse than us rich countries. The initiative known as COVAX, created to ensure the entire world has access to COVID vaccines, has secured only a fraction of the 2 billion doses it hopes to buy over the next year. COVAX was set up by the World Health Organization to avoid the international stampede for vaccines that has accompanied past outbreaks. But now some poorer countries that have signed up for the initiative are looking for alternatives because they fear that they are not going to get it. Of the approximately 12 billion doses the pharmaceutical industry is expected to produce next year, about 9 billion shots have already been reserved by rich countries. U.S. border officials, changing a little bit, U.S. border officials expelled dozens of migrant children in violation of court orders. The Trump administration admitted on Saturday that U.S. border officials continued to expel at least 66 unaccompanied migrant children without a court hearing or asylum interview after a federal judge ordered them to stop the practice. In a federal court filing, it's funny, Vanessa, and I apologize to everybody, but I have to scream at my daughter now because if she sends me one more text message, I'm going to explode. So my apologies, it's live, but we got to deal with our kids too. Gabby, stop it! Thank you very much. In a federal court filing, lawyers acknowledged the convention of a ruling issued by U.S. District Court Judge Evan Sullivan in November that prohibits the administration from using a pandemic-era emergency border policy to expel, and she continues anyway, to expel minors who are apprehended without the parent or legal guardian. On November 18, Sullivan found that the public health law the Trump administration has been invoking since March does not allow immigration authorities to expel border crossers with little or no due process. He also rejected the argument that the public health authority, which dates back to the late 19th century, overrides several legal safeguards Congress established for migrant children. Though this ruling, Sullivan designated all accompanied migrant children taken into U.S. custody as class members in the court case. Federal laws require border officials to quickly transfer unaccompanied migrant children to shelters and other housing facilities administered by the Office of Refugee Resettlement, which is mandated to connect the minors with lawyers and child advocates while they pursue asylum or other relief from deportation.
I can't wait to see if there's change in this. I really hope that we have different conversations on this topic in this coming year.
I can't imagine that the Biden administration is going to continue this. And, you know, we're going to look back on this. We're going to look back on this as a huge stain, on America and what America has done. But we're going to look back in history. History isn't determined in the present. It's determined in history. That's why they call it history. Yeah. Meanwhile, an asylum agreement between the United States and El Salvador is ready to go into effect also. The agreement signed last year would send some migrants requesting asylum at the U.S. border to El Salvador to seek protection. Immigrant advocate groups have criticized the agreement, arguing that they put migrants in harm's way. The agreement was scheduled to be part of the discussion between Wolf and El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele this week, according to the Department of Homeland Security. Basically, what they're going to do is people come for asylum if they went from Honduras or Guatemala or from some other Central American countries, and they're going to say, go apply for asylum in El Salvador, which, by the way, is not the safest place for them to begin with.
Yeah. And then there's just so many Latino countries in the border, so it's just bananas.
What's in it for El Salvador? What are they getting for accepting asylum applicants? What has the United States offered El Salvador, or basically threatened El Salvador if they don't do this? That we don't know.
There's so much pop. That's such a vulnerable country, republic.
Yeah.
That's a very vulnerable republic.
Yeah, it just seems very odd that all of a sudden El Salvador says, yes, I'll take all the migrants. Somebody, just my Uncle Brad sense, and I have no,
Spidey senses.
My Uncle Brad sense says somebody's getting really rich and bribed over this, and I have no evidence of this whatsoever. So I'm not saying that anybody is, but to me, how does El Salvador all of a sudden decide that they're going to take all migrants who are applying for asylum in the United States? And I'm sorry, U.S. is going to send them to El Salvador. And El Salvador says, yes, come.
Right.
They can't even deal with their own people there. People are leaving El Salvador.
Every day.
So I'm not sure what's going on there, but it seems something very
suspicious
and suspicious or devious. I think it's going to be a complicated process to undo all of what Trump did. There's a ton of regulations. It's going to be a very, very By the way, this is an odd debate going on right now. There was a editorial in the Wall Street Journal that criticized Joe Biden's wife, Jill Biden. She has a doctorate degree in education, so she calls herself Dr. Biden. But in an editorial page in the Wall Street Journal, Paul Gageot, he basically said, why is she Dr. Biden? She's trying to fool people that she's a medical doctor. Unless you're a medical doctor, you don't usually say doctor.
Doctor.
In the title.
Okay. Professor. Like a professor wouldn't.
Right. So nearly every major news outlet ran a story over the weekend on the backlash. It was actually the original essay was written by Joseph Epstein. No relation to Epstein, who killed himself. But look who's here! Look who decides to join us.
He's back.
The snowstorm is not trying to be my friend.
He's unfrozen himself.
Yeah, and can you hear me?
Yes, I do hear you.
Perfectly, better than ever, actually.
Okay, godly.
I thought you were just method acting and said, you know what? I want to go out in the snow, get really cold for my next role in the live action Frozen movie.
No, I'm here, and I still have them on hold right now because I'm telling them, please make sure it doesn't happen again.
Check. Oh, you came in right on time, Yo-Yo, because I want to hear what you think about this.
Yes.
Okay. What happened?
So what we were talking about is there was an essay in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend written actually by a guy by the name of Joseph Epstein. And it sparked controversy because he said, why is Joe Biden calling herself Dr. Joe Biden? She's not a medical doctor. So she shouldn't be calling herself Dr. Joe Biden. But the fact is, she has a doctorate degree.
Yes.
She has a degree in education as a doctor. And as a result, she's earned the right, if she chooses to call herself Dr. Biden.
Yeah.
And every major news outlet ran a story over the weekend on the backlash. And among the critics, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, husband Doug Emhoff, and Northwestern University, where Epstein taught for the last 30 years, has basically put him on suspension for suggesting this. And in the column, because Epstein suggested Biden consider stowing away her title, at least for now, inviting her to forget the small thrill of being Dr. Jill and settle for the larger thrill of living in the next 4 years in the best public housing in the world as First Lady Jill Biden. Now, he began his column really rudely. He wrote, Madam First Lady, Miss Biden, Jill Kiddo. A bit of advice, like a small but I think is not unimportant matter. Any chance you might drop the doctor before your name, Dr. Jill Biden, sounds and feels fraudulent, not to say a touch comic. Your degree, I believe, is in education, not a medical doctor.
That is ridiculous.
Haters are gonna hate.
That is ridiculous.
What do you think of that?
That's ridiculous.
Now, she has the right to call herself Dr. Biden.
Absolutely. I have professors that had, doctorates, that we call them doctor and their name as well. I have frat brothers. They work hard for that. They studied for that. That just because it has doctor in your name doesn't mean that it's just for medical doctors.
That is very true. Now, I will take it one step further. I have no problem with her calling herself Dr. Biden. And if I met her, I would call her Dr. Biden because that's what she's proud of earning that diploma and degree, and she wants the honor of being called that. And she has every right. I have a Juris Doctor. I have a doctorate degree too. I personally don't feel comfortable being called Dr. Bernstein. I always think of a doctor as a medical doctor, so I would never call myself Dr. Bernstein. But I have the right to call myself Dr. Bernstein if I really wanted to, because I have a Juris Doctor. I have a doctor of law. I'm a doctor of law. But I don't have a personal preference. I don't have a problem with somebody calling themselves that.
Yeah, I don't either. That's wild.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Sasha Ford said, I have a professor who tells us to address them as Dr. OMG. It's too early for the hate train.
Yeah, it's way too early.
Yeah.
But I mean, we knew that this was going to come, we already knew that people were going to hate. This is just, something that she's just going to have to dust off her shoulders. I feel like she should not take out the doctor from her name. She has earned that. She needs to tell us what she wants us to call her, Madam.
That's right.
First President, Dr. Jill Biden. That's what I'll call her.
Some people come, in and say, Mr. Bernstein. And I don't even like to be called Mr. Bernstein. I mean, I have a right to be called Mr. Bernstein. I have a right.
Right. That's your last name. And you're a Mr.
Bernstein. But I don't personally like to be called Mr. Bernstein. I find it uncool. I would just rather be called Brad. So I tell everybody, just call me Brad. That's how I feel comfortable being called. I don't want to be Dr. Brad. I actually got used to Uncle Brad. So I accept that took a while. But I don't like to be called Mr. Bernstein or anything. I certainly don't want to be called Dr. Bernstein. I like just Brad. That's who I am. But everyone to each his own. And that goes. And by the way, that goes across everything, why does that bother anybody? Why would that bother anybody?
Well, it's going to get even better when she's Dr. First Lady.
Yeah, but in other words, why would that bother anybody? It's the same thing, to me, why did it take so long to have same-sex marriages? I don't get it. If people are happy, how's it bothering somebody else?
It's wild to me. It's just wild to me that other people's business matters so much to
exactly
a stranger who's not getting paid for their business, but it's like, what does it I don't have enough energy to worry about other people's business. I don't got the time.
I mean, personally, I don't want to be in a same-sex marriage. Personally, it's not my thing. All right,
right. But who's to say that other people can't?
But if two people are happy, why would anybody care?
Right, you would think.
It's the same thing with this. Why would anybody care that she calls herself Dr. Biden? It makes no sense to me.
It makes no sense to me. So what happened to this person? You said they got suspended, or
he was a professor. He was a professor at Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
And he got suspended from Northwestern.
Good,
because it was basically misogynist in the sense that a woman earned a title, and then you're saying she's not allowed to use that title.
Exactly.
So that's how it looks.
Not on my watch.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Meanwhile, we got to get to some hump day, and we got to get to our immigration questions as well.
Yeah, see, look, right on time.
I guess I came right on time.
Right. Julian, do we have some cartoon camels?
There they go. There's the camel.
The real camels are in the studio. We only have cartoon camels during snowstorm pop-up, but there it is. All right.
Yeah, get to the juicy.
The sexiest mensch alive. The nice Jewish guy 2021 calendar is here. You know what a mensch is, by the way? You ever hear that word? Jonathan maybe knows it.
I've heard of that.
You did the bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvah circuit.
Yes. Why? I've heard of it. What is it again?
A mensch is just a really good person, good human being.
Okay.
So when you say, you know what, you're a mensch, you're saying, you know what, you're a good human being.
Okay. No wonder I've heard it so many times.
Yeah. So, they always say that, yo, what a mensch.
Yeah.
Good human being. So the sexiest mensch alive, it is a calendar for the nice Jewish guy.
Wow.
Now, whoever said nice mensches finish last, obviously they've never glimpsed at the nice Jewish guy wall calendar since its debut in 2009. More than 100 Hebrew hotties, they call themselves.
I can't.
The kind of smart, shy, bi-speckled guys you want to invite over for Chinese food on Christmas. You know that? You know that joke. The only time you could ever find, when you walk into a Chinese restaurant on Christmas Eve on December 24th, every person who is eating at that Chinese restaurant is either Chinese or Jewish. That's it, because everybody else is celebrating Christmas except those two.
Right. That makes sense.
So it is the guy you want to invite for Chinese food on Christmas. So creator Adam Cohen post. It's actually ridiculous. And he came up with the idea of a calendar filled with the Bubby approved benches on a lark. He said it started as a funny idea. Let's just do one. It'd be a gas. Now each month features an approachable guy and a few fun facts about him. Now some standouts.
You're gonna have to send in your submission, Dr. Bernstein.
Yeah. Dr. Bernstein has not been mentioned in this calendar yet.
Would you take it?
I gotta hit the gym maybe for next year. Maybe I'll do a topless pose for the 2022.
Hebrew hotties are an energy too, Brad.
Yeah.
It's so shallow of you to think it's just a physical competition.
I don't know. Maybe.
Look at my guy right here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to call anybody out, but I think I belong there ahead of him. I don't know.
Apple a day keeps the doctor away. That one said.
I would like to see you in the calendar. Not gonna lie.
All right. Let's start a petition. Meanwhile, a budget airline in Russia is under fire for a planet's phallic flight route. Russia's state aviation authority has recommended to the national carrier Aeroflot to consider firing the head of its budget airline after one of its passenger planes appeared to trace a phallic route in the sky during a commercial flight.
Oh my gosh. What?
Are you kidding me?
Is that real?
The authorities sent a report that the crew of the Moscow flight deviated from its authorized flight plan on November 11th for maneuvers with 102 passengers online. Russian media has cast the maneuvers as a gesture of public support for soccer star Artem Dzyuba, who has been dropped from the Russian national team after the leak of a private, intimate video featuring a man similar to him. The commission said the plane had not needed to deviate from its path for security reasons and flew the path of the phallic symbol. That was actually very funny.
Yo,
that's funny.
First of all, why are they making all those loops?
What? I don't even know how the plane would be able to draw. I can't even draw that, let alone fly that. You know?
Right.
You guys,
all right, Julian, I don't
being
need to see this anymore.
A passenger.
What?
No. Imagine being a passenger on that plane.
Imagine being a passenger, honey. What do you think? What do you think we're doing? We seem to be flying in circles. What do you think is happening?
What? That is wild.
That is too wild.
Meanwhile, a hotel has granted a couple of 18-year-olds some free stays for making a baby in one of their rooms back on Valentine's Day.
Oh, God.
Yes, Hotel Z, of course, in British Columbia, not England. This is Canada. Offered couples the chance to win 18 years of free accommodation if roughly 9 months following their stay, they had a baby. That's hilarious.
Wow.
Well, Nicole and Alexander Bashinsky and their 3.5-year-old son are getting ready to welcome a new member of the family. Their names are Kelowna. Oh, the Kelowna-based couple took advantage of Hotel Z's Nooner special this past Friday, the 14th. Hotel Z, which also has locations in Victoria and Tofino, had offered the 4-hour Nooner special for the past 5 years. Basically, it's an hour rate motel. And if you can prove you got a birth
what?
after staying there.
Which, for the record, is October babies.
That's hilarious.
October babies are usually Valentine's Day babies.
It wasn't even like a regular hotel that you like stayed overnight, like a Marriott or a Hilton. It's
right.
Jonathan's just counting on his fingers.
Yeah, because I'm like counting.
It's the hourly rate where you go to like the cheap your girlfriend or spouse for 4 hours, you know?
Yeah. So wait,
or
so
British
they have
Columbia.
In British Columbia.
And so they conceived Valentine's Day at the hotel.
Do you know now that we're talking, you know what my birthday is?
Yes.
Exactly. You're around those days.
Yes. So that means
if you count backwards, my parents conceived about New Year's Eve.
Ooh.
Let's get it on.
My parents in New Year's Eve, 1968. They must have been hippies back then.
Something.
They had some special New Year's Eve going on that day. Right, because I was born September 27th.
Right.
See, and I'm October 27th.
So what happened on you were Valentine's Day, right?
So how about mine? I'm in April. So what does that make me?
You were a summer baby, like you were like over summer nights on the beach,
right?
Summer loving happened so fast.
Yeah,
summer loving
had me a blast.
Something cute as can be. Okay, that's my
Yo, method acting, getting ready for his role in Frozen. He was. By the way, a pharmaceutical company in Tennessee, this is some serious stuff. They have to call both erectile dysfunction drugs and antidepressants after mixing up the shipments. A pharmaceutical company called AV Care had to call a lot of 100 milligram trazodone, an antidepressant and tranquilizer, and another of sildenafil, which is sildenafil is I guess Viagra, and the medications were switched during the bottling process at the factory. But the good news is they caught the mistake early, and nobody was hurt by the mix-up. It would be quite funny if you're like, man, I'm so depressed, but wow, I seem to be very, very.
I mean,
very excited at the same time.
Yeah, wouldn't that kind of take you out of the funk, the depressive funk?
I kind of like this antidepressant. It's making me very.
I'm just saying. That's an upper.
It kicked quick. I didn't expect this to kick up so quick.
Right. Or if it was the other way around, it would be like, I can't seem to get excited, but I'm really, really, really happy right now.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I've never been so happy for not being excited.
I don't know. It kind of sounds like it might not have been a lose-lose situation for both.
Right.
Meanwhile, I was telling Vanessa, when we do these pop-ups, we just get sillier and sillier,
Yes.
And finally, our last story before we get into our immigration, a COVID-related pickup lines were a massively popular trend among Tinder users this year, according to the dating app. Tinder released examples of pickup lines like, "Let's be like the coronavirus and catch each other."
Wow.
I mean, I kind of like that.
That's the worst pickup line I've ever heard in my entire life.
I kind of like it.
Vanessa, if somebody texted you, "Let's be like the coronavirus and catch each other."
Funny, bro.
You wouldn't smirk.
I mean, of course I would, but then I'd be like, darn, that's not cool.
Yeah, he's got to have a good follow up after that,
Yeah.
Right, there's got to be a good follow up after that.
That's quick. If the guy was cute and you thought that, look, this is because we don't want your boyfriend to come beat me and Brad up. But like, if the guy was cute and he was like, cute flirting and said, "Oh, let's be like Corona and catch each other."
Every girl wants to laugh. Because it's been a crazy year. So like, let's get a little haha out of it, Maybe.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah, you always try and turn a negative into a positive, and then if you could do it in a charming way, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, by the way, some of the other top pickup lines were, "Let's quarantine and chill." "Let's wash your hands so you can come hold mine." Yeah.
Oh, see, I like that.
That's looking for a +1 from my family Zoom calls.
I'm actually going to use some of these. See how they work.
Looking for someone to pump up my heart rate so my glasses fog with my mask on.
They're kind of fun. I like them.
And then finally, the last one was, "A month ago I needed cuddles, but right now I just need sanitizer and face mask. Can you help me out?"
I'm here for them. I'm here for it.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, a lot of people were mentioning Carol Baskin killed her husband in reference to the Tiger King conspiracy theory. And masks was a huge rise in popularity. And the shrug emoji was the #1 emoji used on the dating app. So that's what's going on.
The shrug?
The shrug.
I mean, what you gonna do?
I would have thought it.
Uh-oh.
Wouldn't that be more?
There you
wouldn't
are.
the wink be a little more?
Wait, what'd you say? You froze for a second. What'd you say?
I said I would have thought it would have been the wink.
The wink, yeah.
Yeah, isn't the wink a little more flirtatious? You don't want to basically start sending kisses and hearts because that could be a little, too much. But wink.
I'm surprised it ain't the eggplant.
the eggplant and a squirt of water, right?
Right. I mean, listen, cut the small talk at this point.
Yeah. Right. We got to move on. I'm glad you're back, Jonathan.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
In today's Braducation, I answer the question, how long after I get married can I file for a green card for my spouse? Let's watch. You can file for your spouse the next day, and you should. People think that they should wait because somehow it's going to make it look like it's more of a real marriage. Quite frankly, if you're in a real marriage, it's going to be real if you file the day after you get married, and it's going to be real if you file 6 months after you get married, and it's going to be real if you file 1 year after you get married. So you might as well file right after you get married. If, on the other hand, it is something other than a real marriage, whether you wait 1 day to file, 6 months to file, or a year to file, I can almost assure you will not get through. The Immigration Service will figure it out, so you're only hurting yourself and fooling yourself. Quite frankly, don't outsmart anybody. Don't try to outsmart yourself. If you're married and you want a green card, get married, file right. All right, so let's do something we like to call social media check. Because we can't take telephone calls. So please leave your questions in our comment section. You ready? I don't hear you, Yo-Yo.
We are.
How about
I do hear you now.
Oh, okay.
All right. By the way, the camels, they want to stay for.
It's hump day.
They want to.
Let them.
The camels want to stay for social media check-in. They may have some questions.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
All right. First one comes from Samuel Paul on Facebook saying, I renewed my EAD and haven't gotten any message or letter. Is it meant to be like that, or should I expect a card in the mail?
You should expect a receipt notice for renewing your EAD, and you should expect a card in the mail.
Walex Cool Minds on Facebook. I filed an I-360 in September of 2019. I got my first prima facie, which expires October, and another one was sent last month. My case has been pending for 15 months now. I sent a work permit application in December of 2019, and up till now, I have not gotten a work permit. I only got the renewal of the prima facie. What should I do?
What you haven't done is file an adjustment. So this is one of the big mistakes people make when they file VAWA applications. They file the I-360 VAWA, but they don't file an adjustment with it. And they put their I-765, their work permit, with the VAWA application thinking they've applied for the work permit. But you're not entitled to get a work permit on the basis of just having a VAWA filed unless you get the VAWA approved, and they're taking over 2 years to get the VAWA approved. However, whether the abuse was through a resident or through a citizen, priority dates are current right now for both. So whether it was a resident or a citizen you were married to, you can file an adjustment application with the VAWA, and then you're entitled to the work permit, the I-765, not based on that you have a pending VAWA, but based on the fact that you have a pending adjustment. So file the adjustment, you'll get a work permit. And then you would have to file a second work permit application under Section C9.
Okay, Stacy on Instagram, my work permit / travel parole card expires in January, so I filed a renewal application in October. I still haven't received a receipt from them yet. It was tracked and USCIS received the documents in November. I'm worried now that I haven't heard anything from them, and my work permit will expire soon.
Well, hopefully you'll get a receipt. You should get a receipt soon. They're very backed up. But as long as you get the receipt before the expiration of your work permit, you can use that receipt to extend your authorized state of work for an extra 180 days. Which, by the way, I'm sorry, Vanessa, which really, really shows, based on 2 questions we've already had with the work permit, you have to, for the renewals, file your renewal at least 4 months before the expiration. So that way you don't run into these problems.
Deborah Stevens on Facebook. I filed an I-130 petition for my daughter who is over 21 years of age in December of 2019. I have only received a letter saying that they received my application, nothing else. How long is this process usually?
What was the question again? I apologize. You broke up a little bit.
So, she filed an I-130 petition for her daughter who is over 21 years old in December of 2019. She only received a letter saying that they received the application, but nothing else. How long would this process usually take?
It's gonna be a 4 or 5 year process. You may not hear for several years, but priority dates are 2015. Whether you got the approval today or you get the approval in 12 months from today or 24 months from today, ultimately your daughter is going to get a green card on the same day, which is when the priority date is reached, which is 4 to 5 years away. So don't worry so much when the I-130 gets approved. Just make sure it gets approved within the next 2, 3, 4 years. But whether it gets approved today or gets approved in 2 years from today, your date is established on the waiting list based on the date you filed, which is your priority date, which ultimately your daughter will get, as I said, get your green card on the same day.
Okay, Cristiano El Elion on Facebook. During the asylum interview, what is practical of evidence that one can provide to the officer?
Your credible testimony. So the most important thing that you can provide an officer is evidence of that you are telling a true story. So how do you tell evidence that you're telling a true story? You have details. A detailed story is more believable and more credible than somebody with a vague story. And then obviously that detailed story has to show a fear of past or present or future persecution. And then the other details you show are country reports or other evidence to show that, excuse me, that your story matches up to what is being reported in that particular country.
Max Taylor on YouTube. USCIS requested a letter of good moral character. I already got my EAD, Social Security, and work permit. I'm now waiting on my green card. Is it good or bad that they requested that document?
What did they request?
They requested a letter of good moral character.
And he's doing it based on what? Who's sponsoring him?
Doesn't say.
Well, if you got a letter of good, I don't think it's good or bad. I really never heard of immigration requesting a letter of good moral character on an adjustment, although you obviously have to prove good moral character. But if there's nothing in your background that would suggest that you don't have good moral character, then they wouldn't generally request that. So I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I think it's an odd thing that they requested, unless, of course, you have something in your background that would suggest that you don't have good moral character.
Okay, Christopher Gray on YouTube. I'm wondering what my chances are of getting into the U.S. My girlfriend is a U.S. citizen. I'm from Jamaica, but she's currently not working. Could we get an affidavit sponsor?
Yeah. Have her file a fiance visa. You could always get an affidavit support from a second person. But obviously the fiance visa is to come marry, not to hang out with your girlfriend.
Zaragoza fam on Facebook. Do I have to have a green card first before my son receives his interview scheduled at the U.S. Embassy in the Philippines?
Who's sponsoring you? I assume, I got to extrapolate on these questions now. I assume you got married to a U.S. citizen and your U.S. citizen filed separately for your son in the Philippines. I'm taking a guess. And the answer is the U.S. Embassy is going to want to see that you got your green card or that your marriage is more than 2 years old before they give your son a green card. So it's going to be one of two. One, you already have your green card and you've established it's a real marriage, or two, your marriage is more than 2 years old. And if you don't have your green card, then they should schedule it anyway, because then your son would not be a conditional resident. He would be a permanent resident.
Patrona May on YouTube. My son did his interview in February in Jamaica, but is affected by the president's proclamation. Will he have to do an interview?
Yes. Yeah, you're going to have to do everything all over again, unfortunately. And the biggest thing is, when you say, well, Biden will be here and he's going to end the proclamation, we have a year of people who've been waiting to get interviewed who haven't been interviewed yet. So there's going to be an enormous backlog of people. So it's not going to be enough for Biden just to end the proclamation and say, okay, start processing, because you have a huge group of people who nothing's happened to for a year. So hopefully Biden, besides ending the proclamation, will put more people on, at the embassy. We'll put more people at the National Visa Center. We'll put more people at USCIS, and it's going to fund this to actually process people through who deserve to get through. Because if we don't have the funding and additional resources, both at the U.S. Embassy, National Visa Center, USCIS, there's going to be huge backlogs for years on people who are otherwise eligible for green cards.
Dan Gov on YouTube. I got a misdemeanor 12 years ago. I did not go to jail. The case was expunged. I came here legally, but overstayed for 5 years. Will that affect my green card application? I am married to a U.S. citizen. My visitor visa is valid until April of 2021.
I don't know what he means by his case was expunged, because expunged means you were found guilty, still an immigration conviction. What was his case for?
He just said he got a misdemeanor 12 years ago.
Okay, so we need to know more about this misdemeanor. The overstay with a U.S. citizen is not a problem. Problem is you have a criminal conviction. Even if the case is expunged, it's still a criminal conviction for immigration purposes. So we have to figure out, what is this misdemeanor that you have? It is a conviction. Expungement doesn't change anything. Okay, it could be inadmissible. You may need a waiver. It may be a petty offense and nothing. So we got to figure out what it is that you were found guilty of. The overstay is not a problem. It's the criminal record.
Okay, Amani on Instagram. I filed my I-130 adjustment of status on October 8th. I still didn't receive any notification or receipt from USCIS. I sent my documents through USPS lockbox in Chicago. What can I do?
How long has it been?
October 8th is when they did the I-130 adjustment of status, or it says I-30 adjustment of status.
It's the I-130. The first thing to do is to track your payment. All right, track your payment. So if you paid by check, see if your check got cashed. If you paid by money order, see if you go back to the post office or the Western Union or wherever you bought your money order and track the money order. See if it got cashed. If it did, request that facility, whether it's the post office, Western Union, or wherever you bought the money order, for a copy of the cash check or the cash money order. Because on that cash money order, on that cash check, immigration's going to write your case number on it. Now you know your case number, even though you haven't received anything back from immigration. And now you also know that immigration has your file because they cashed the check and they wrote your case number on it, or they cashed your money order. Now you can call up immigration and say, hey, what's going on with my case? Here's my case number. If 2-3 months go by and there is no check that was cashed, now you know you have a problem. Your file never made it to immigration.
Sorry, y'all. I just lost my track. Augustus Maxine on Instagram. Do you know what time the USCIS office is going to open to start taking fingerprints?
I do not know what time the U.S. Immigration Office will take fingerprints. They are taking fingerprints now on a, smaller basis than what they normally do. People who they've already collected fingerprints, you're going to have your fingerprints waived. They're going to use your old fingerprints, which they have digitally stored. So, it depends on what happens with coronavirus, and, every day it's different. So there is no answer. Nobody knows.
Okay, Mohammed on Facebook. My dad filed the I-130 as F3 preference for all countries in June 2010 and approved in December 2013. When do you think the priority date may turn current?
It was June 2010 priority date. Who filed for who?
The F3 preference. The dad filed the I-130 as
F3. So you probably have 3 or 4 more years to go, unfortunately, for F3. Married, son or daughter of a U.S. citizen. It's about 10, 15-year wait.
Okay, so 10. Okay, because it got approved.
10, you have about 3 more years, is my guess.
Okay.
This one's slightly lengthy, but Fadi D on Facebook. I lived in the United States for 23 years from 1978 till 2001, and I have 2 cases and 4 felonies. They were credit card fraud and embezzlement. The 2 counts of fraud were $110 purchases and $240 car repairs. Then this is a very long story. Then she worked for transactions. Here we go. So long story short.
Tell us the story.
Okay. Alrighty. So the 2 counts of fraud were for $110 purchases and the other were $240 for car repairs. Then I worked at Kmart and ranged up items and voided them out. Every transaction was over 100. So it's a felony back then. Long story short, my son is a natural born citizen and he's 23. He wants to apply for me to come back. My 10-year bar has expired. I was removed by an immigration judge 23 years ago. I'm in Beirut. Do I still need a waiver? I have been here for 21 years now and never tried to enter the States. I miss my son. And when he was born, me and his mother were legally married. Can I come back to the U.S.?
You need a waiver. You need a 212 waiver to come back after prior deportation. That's number one. If any of your cases, if any of your convictions were less than 15 years ago, you can't get a waiver through your son. So you have to wait at least 15 years from the last date of conviction. Number two, if any of your convictions are aggravated felonies, you can't come back, period. What is an aggravated felony in these situations? Any of those convictions where you were sentenced to more than a year in jail, because a theft offense with more than a year in jail is an aggravated felony, or any conviction where the loss to the victim in a fraud, because all of these cases are also theft and fraud, where the fraud was in excess of $10,000, that's also an aggravated felony. So we got to determine two things. One, are any of these criminal records or criminal cases that you have aggravated felonies? And number two, did they happen more than 15 years ago or less than 15 years ago?
Okay, and last one for right now, Agath111 on Facebook saying, what's the cost to file an I-90 form?
$545. That's the replacement of the green card.
Awesome. All right, squad. So we will be back in 59 seconds to answer some more questions. But first, today's attorney close-up, Spar and Bernstein partner and personal injury attorney, David Livy, explains whether independent contractors are entitled to workers' compensation benefits.
Like barbers and dancers, folks that deal in mostly cash businesses like those oftentimes are independent contractors. And they are their own individual companies and they get paid 1099 income. And in those situations and circumstances, if you're an independent contractor, then workers' compensation wouldn't come into play.
And keep in mind that insurance companies, they're not in the business of giving away cash. So anything they have against you, anything they can use, they will often use against you because they don't want to pay out. And that's why you need experienced personal injury attorneys who can investigate the facts, who can do the research, who know the law, who know how to deal with these insurance companies and ensure that they're not shortchanging anybody and they're paying out whenever they're legally responsible to pay out.
All right. By the way, that was not only David Levy, that was also David Moreno, also partner, and Moshe Baruch.
Yeah, I saw them all in there. I was like, I didn't get that note. But.
Yeah, okay. All right, what else we got? We'll go more social media checking. What else we got?
Yes.
So the next one comes from Saeed Sharani on Facebook. Can an asylum applicant whose case is in court removal proceeding get I-140 through EB3 and show it in court for adjustment of status without leaving the U.S. or getting EB3 visa through consular processing?
It depends if you're an arriving alien or not. If you're an arriving alien, it's possible you'll be able to adjust through a job sponsorship. If you're not an arriving alien, then the answer would be no, you can't, because you entered the U.S. on a visa and presumably overstayed that time already because you're more than 6 months.
Okay, Zion on Instagram. What kind of waiver do I need for I-212 or I-601 for me to come back to the U.S.? No criminal record, just overstayed visa for 4 years, and I have 10-year bar, but now my fiance is coming to Nigeria to marry me. So I just want to know if I'm going to have to file the 212 and 601 together.
If you got the 212 is if you got deported or you were found inadmissible at an airport. So that is a waiver to come back after an inadmissibility or deportation. The 601 waiver is a waiver to waive either criminal records or waive your unlawful presence in the United States for more than a year, which gives you the 10-year bar. So if you're in a situation where you just overstayed on your visa, or you entered without inspection and lived here for 4 years, or overstayed on your visa for 4 years, nobody put you in deportation, you never came across ICE or anything, and one day you just say, you know what, I'm gonna go back to Nigeria, then you just need the 601 waiver if you wanna come back within 10 years. If, on the other hand, it was a situation where you're in the United States, you overstayed your time by 4 years, you're minding your own business, you're walking down the street and you trip over ICE and they arrest you and put you in deportation, and then you get deported, now you need a 212 waiver and the 601 waiver.
Therapin's voice on Instagram. My husband was charged for domestic violence and assault, but the case was completely dismissed on March 5th, 2020. We got married on May 24th, 2017. We are still together and we have kids. Now his application for the I-751 pending. When can he apply for citizenship?
You can apply 1 year after the I-751 is pending, because now you're at 3 years of having a green card. You still have to prove you're in a bona fide marriage, but you can apply for the N-400 while the I-751 is pending.
CE user on YouTube, if you have a CRBA, do you still qualify for an N-600? And do you still need the certificate of citizenship?
CRBA.
Should I research this?
I don't know what CRBA is, but if you have a
birth of United States citizen abroad.
Okay.
So they're issued to both U.S. citizens and non-citizen nationals.
So I mean, personally, yes, it's a certificate of birth abroad. I got what it is now. I would still suggest you have a U.S. passport and a certificate of citizenship.
Leashy's 27 TV on YouTube. USCIS filled, or no, USI filled AOS through marriage. I got the receipt notice after like 3 weeks, but since then I never got a biometric notice, and it's been 2.5 months. Should I worry or still wait? What's your advice?
Well, it's the same thing that I said before. I think the first thing you should do is check to see if your money got cashed. And if I don't want to go through the same question again, just rewind about 15 minutes. I answered it and told you what to do. But in all of these situations where you're waiting 2.5 months, instead of worrying and wondering, because you don't know, and I don't know either. How do I know where you are in 2.5 months? So if you came to me, I would say, let's see if the check got cashed. That's the first thing to look at. Because if you know the check got cashed, then you know immigration's got your file. And you also can research what the case number is. And then you can follow up. If your check's not cashed after 2.5 months, start worrying.
Okay, Lekiti on YouTube. I need a file for a VAWA, but had suffered abuse before and after. Will this affect my case?
If you basically, I guess before and after is before the marriage and after the marriage. You can be an abused spouse before you get married and continue to stupidly get married anyway. And sometimes it's not stupid, you're just, you're so, emotionally abused. You're not even, making good decisions. But you can use the abuse before. You're going to use the abuse after marriage, before marriage. Everything is admissible and will be considered, and you should use it.
Rick Geo on Facebook. I am preparing for the IR5 visa interview, hopefully soon. Do you know anywhere online I can get an idea of the questions they may ask? Or maybe you could give me a few examples of the questions.
The IR5, you're basically doing a marriage case. So what side of the bed do you sleep on? What type of toothpaste do you use? What's the color of the couch in your living room? Watch all my educations. But there's 4.
Okay, Ulrich on Facebook. I came as a student on F1 for 3 years of school in September 2017, but I only attended school 1 year, and I left in Thanksgiving 2018. And after, I married a U.S. citizen in September 14, 2019. After been dating for several months since December 18, 2018. So we have a child together, born December 19, 2019. And I applied for an AOS and sent applications in September 2020. I got receipt notices. Now, my question is that times the I-944 was waived somehow, and I didn't submit it. And my wife, she's getting SNAP benefits and living in a public house as well. Would I be, or should I be worried, since we're living together, that I can also be a public charge to government? Please, I have no work authorization. My goal is to work hard both, and I and my wife won't depend on public assistance.
All right. So after going through that entire question, there was not a date that he mentioned there that is even relevant to his question.
Right. That's why I started laughing.
All right. His question is, I'm married. I filed an adjustment. My wife gets SNAP and lives in housing. Is that going to affect me? Okay. We just answered that. We just asked that question in one sentence. The answer is yes. It will affect you, unfortunately, because the 944 is back in effect. Unless the SNAP is just for children. If it's for children, that's okay. That's, food stamps. But if your wife's collecting it too, it's a problem. Public housing is a problem. Well, everything you've just told me is a big problem for you at this moment.
Yes.
I don't hear you. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Opal, I have Opal on Facebook. I have a pending I-130. I did an interview in August of 2019 and was told I need more evidence. However, I didn't hear back from USCIS until September 2020. That a notice was sent. I moved from my old address and the notice was sent there. I requested an address change and they request a new notice. When I went online, I saw where they sent the new notice, but I still have not received it at my new address. What should I do?
What is the note? I'm confused on this woman's question. Can you say it again?
Yes. So
if we were talking about emojis, it was like the one where,
she's pending an I-130. She did the interview in August of 2019 and was told they needed more evidence. However, she didn't hear back from USCIS until September of 2020 that a notice was sent, but it was sent to her old
okay. So she needs to contact USCIS and update her address and ask for them to they'll send it to the new address. That's what she needs to do.
Ogie on Instagram, I was petitioned and approved during 2013, July at F2B category. When can I expect an interview with the embassy? I'm from the Philippines and my mother is the petitioner.
When did the mom file for him?
Got petitioned and approved during 2013.
Oh, should be eligible now.
F2B category.
Should be eligible now if you did everything right.
To Sandra on Instagram, I applied for a B-12 visa. On the application, I stated that I was married, but I wasn't legally married, only by common law. So in 2016, I got married to a U.S. citizen and started my paperwork in 2018. We are married and living together with our beautiful 11-month-old daughter and 8-year-old boy, both kids American. My 8-year-old is with the person I stated on the visa application that I was married to. I have been with them since I was 16 years old. In November of 2019, I went in for an interview and the marriage came up. I explained to them that it was by common law, not legally. In February/March of this year, immigration requested more evidence, which I sent in a letter of impediment showing that I wasn't legally married, but because of the pandemic, everything was slow. They gave me 90 days to submit the evidence, which I did in May. I tracked it and it was delivered before the deadline. On July 3rd, I received a letter from immigration saying that they didn't receive my evidence. I resent it July 6th. Now I just received a notice of removal to appear in court on the 31st of this month. What can I do?
You got to file a new adjustment immediately. You're going to need a waiver. There's a misrepresentation. You claimed you were legally married when you were not, in order to get the visa. You got the no impediment to marriage letter from Jamaica, which says that there was no marriage. So you're able to show that you're in a legal marriage now, but there is a misrepresentation. So you need to file a new adjustment application immediately. And then eventually you'll get the visa petition approved. You're going to have to file an adjustment or transfer the adjustment to the judge and then file a waiver before the judge. I would suggest a good lawyer at this point.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Sonawan on Facebook. I applied for a I-751 in July 2019. Got 18-month extension and was out the country 2 times on extension in September 2020. I have an RFE in October 2020. My case was transferred to another office and the new office has jurisdiction. Now my status is showing that I'm ready for an interview. Is it okay to travel outside the U.S. for 1 month?
If you have advanced parole, yes.
Okay, and let's wrap it up with one of our VIPs, Marge Higgs on Facebook. My friend filed VAWA over 3 years ago and was approved 2.5 years ago. She wants to know if she can file for divorce and if it will affect her case.
You can file for a divorce if you have already filed for VAWA. It's perfectly okay.
All right.
All right.
Okie doke. Okay, so let's jump right into comments of the day.
Let's do it.
Is there a comment of the day thing, or we just do it?
We just. All right.
By the way,
We just do it.
there was a comment of the day thing. We just don't do it.
Yes. All right.
There is a thing.
There is a thing. All right. Our first one comes from Marge Higgs. We already know we love her. All right. She says, happy hump day to those who are being humped in this snowstorm and to those who wish they were being humped.
That's basically happy hump day to everybody, right?
Yes.
Right? Basically, she wished happy hump day to everybody.
That is hilarious. That's actually perfect. I love it.
That was the best thing I've heard all day today.
Loved it. Loved it.
Okay.
That was amazing.
Next one comes from Sasha Ford, and she says, love is love as long as you are happy.
That is very
Yes.
true.
Oh, I
That
love
is
Sasha
very, very
Ford.
true. I agree with
Yes.
that one.
And our third one comes from Randall Roy saying, Brad, you are up top for a lot of people by your work. God bless you and your family. Top up big.
Oh, thank you very much, Randall. I appreciate that one. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, and wrapping up today's show with this last comment of the day from Cheyenne Henry. Hi, I'm a fan of your show. I filed an adjustment of status with you guys in 2019. Thanks to my lawyer, Marina Brackfield, and you, I've got my green card.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yes.
That is huge.
That's great news, Shylon, and congratulations. And good job, both of you, Yo-Yo and Vanessa. Great job,
Thank
crew.
Great job, you, Brad.
Thank you.
Brad.
And we will be back tomorrow, God willing, snowstorm and all. Please stay safe to everybody out there. We'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks for coming and joining us.